Check her out. Isn't she so freaking beachy sexy? Yes, she is. So the cut that I'm going to share with you today is creating a beautiful, long, layered, I'm calling it a summer layer because it's summertime. If it was winter, girl, I would be calling it a winter layer. It's just a beautiful, sexy layer that is great for any occasion. So I'm going to, you know what? I even call this sometimes the Vicky's Secret layer. Hey, come on now. The one thing that I would say about this layered haircut that I'm about to show you, it's a very sexy, longer layer haircut. Well, I take that back. It's not just for like longer hair. It can also be used for shorter hair as well too. So this technique that I'm going to share with you today, you can use on long hair, on short hair. Well, not hair like mine, but like short hair. So I'm going to share with you those tips and tips and tricks today during our session together. But check her out. This is what she looks like. So from the front, you have these beautiful long layers that are happening that are stretching all the way through to the back, preserving that length down below because, you know, all these girls, they want to keep that long hair, and I don't blame them. If I had it, girl, I would keep it too. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do to help preserve that length down below as well too. And at the very end of this session, I will share with you some of my little styling tricks that I've done on my model today as well too. Sound good? Yes? Yes? Give me a little thumbs up if you're with me so far. All right, so we are going to go ahead and jump right in to our layers. I'm going to grab my model here. This is a different model. I didn't wet her down, I promise. So here we go. So if you are with a mannequin head at home right now, just go ahead and get your mannequins ready. Spray them on down. So I like to use my Noni Fruit leave-in spray, of course, as I'm spraying down whenever I do haircuts, especially, you know, you don't want to keep on spraying the hair down, so you want to keep it nice and hydrated. So I'm using Mr. Noni over here. So we're spraying Noni Fruit all throughout the hair, just like this. And then with your brush, just go ahead and brush it backwards. So today we're going to be playing with a few different type of guides. So, you know, there's two different type of guides in the hair cutting world. If you're a consumer, you're going to learn a lot during this. If you are a professional, then I'm sure you've heard this terminology before. But we have two different type of guides. So who down in the chat can tell me what two guides exist in hair cutting? There's two. I'll give you one of them. One of them is a stationary guide, which means it doesn't move. It just stays right there. A stationary guide. And the other one is, what's the other one called? A traveling guide. Yes, you're right. So we have two different types, a stationary guide and a traveling guide. With this haircut, you guys, we're going to be doing more of a stationary guide, right? So we're going to keep a stationary guide, and then everyone's going to be coming to the beach, right? So here we go. We're going to grab our comb, and the first thing you're going to want to do is section the hair, going from the middle all the way to the back nape. The nape is the back of your neck. So we're going to go all the way to the nape. And you want to go ahead and put her in a nice position where it's comfortable for you. So I'm going to back her up a little bit here. So I'm not cutting all the way up here like this. And I'm going to adjust the camera here to be a little bit lower. Hi, Jana. Hi, Brenda, Billy. How are you? Welcome. All right, so here we go. So once again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to section her going from the center all the way to the back. Now, a nice little trick that I do for sectioning is I use, you know, here's your comb. I use more of the wider teeth on there. And then I place my fingers down in the middle of the nape right here. And from here, we're going to go ahead to the front. And we're going to part all the way down to the back. So as you part down, your finger catches that comb. So that's one little trick to get beautiful parts every single time. So we're going to go ahead and divide this in half first, just like this. So sectioning first, we're going to section her off first. I'm doing a wet cut on this. Sometimes I like to do this, you know, I do it wet, depending on how much hair they have. Or honestly, I even do a lot of dry cutting. I do this a lot on dry as well too. But I'm showing you wet so you guys can actually see the sections nice and beautifully here. So we're going to go through and divide it into two first. And I'm just combing for control here. Beautiful. All the way down like this. So this is our first thing that we're doing is we're parting it off just right down the middle. I should have had a Sharpie and just showed you on my head. I have the head shape for like like in cosmetology school, you know, when they're drawing. I should have just done that on my own head. All right, so as we divide this in half here, we're gonna go ahead and do what they call a radial section, which is, it's pretty much the back of the ear and it goes right on over up to the other side. So think of a headband that's on top of your head, but that slides back just a little bit, right? So that's your radial sectioning that we're doing. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. So now once you did that and you split it down the middle, we're gonna go ahead and do more radial partings. And I'll turn her this way so you guys can see me. Let me get my angle down here. Here we are. And once again, I have my bigger teeth right here. My finger is right behind the ear like this because that's where we're going out from. So as the comb enters, it's gonna glide. And my comb, like this, the top tooth right there on the comb is going, it's gliding on the head. So it's not hovering, like we're not doing this as we're sectioning, we're actually gliding it right down, just that front tooth. So watch this, as I glide all the way down to my fingertips, just like that. It gives me a beautiful section, just like that. Yeah, so it's like little tiny tricks. And from here, we're gonna go ahead and section off this front left section. So these are the sectionings that we're doing for this. So if you are at home and you have your mannequin head with you, we're still on the sectioning part of this. Remember, sectioning is super important because you need to know where you're going in order to get there, right? You're not just cutting and expecting something to happen here. So we're cutting with control and direction. So here we go. We're continuing our radial parting, going all the way to the back of the right ear here. And there it is. So that right there is our radial parting. We're going to go ahead and clip off this right section. Just like this. And once again, I'm using a little bit of noni fruit throughout, not a little bit, I drenched it. And the reason why I drenched it, y'all, is because I don't want to keep on spraying throughout the haircut. I like how the noni fruit has enough moisture in it to keep it hydrated all throughout. And also, yeah, I mean, noni fruit is also great for, if y'all are going to the beach, have a bottle of noni fruit with you. I mean, it's a great refresher, sprayed in the air, sprayed in your hair. It's a great refresher. Helps balance out the pH. So here we go. Now, this is the first thing that we're gonna wanna do with this haircut. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is identify the length. And now this is where, you know, especially with people with longer hair, let's say she has hair down to here. People with long hair, they don't want so much cut off. You know, what happens, and I hear this all the time, and for those stylists out there, I'm sure you have too. I'm sure you've heard the horror story of somebody that's cut their first section super short, and then they started continuing going up and then matching that same section. So by the time they left, their hair was like this much chopped off, but really like they were expecting it to be longer. So here's one way to avoid that mess. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna establish our length first. So I'm gonna go ahead and stand this way so you guys can see. And I'm using my big teeth to detangle, just like this. And from there, I'm gonna go ahead and switch it over to my fine teeth, just like that. And I'm gonna raise her up a little bit. I'm looking at the camera angle here as well, y'all. So I wanna make sure you can see it. If you can't see it or you can't hear me, please let me know. Let me know. All right, so here we go. So the first thing that we're gonna wanna do here is to establish that length. So you're gonna wanna grab your scissor. And what I'm doing is I'm actually gonna cut this whole entire back section because I'm looking just to establish a nice length down below here. And her hair is already pretty layered naturally, so I don't have to take the smallest sections to get there. So I can actually take this back right here and cut it down below here. So once again, we're gonna actually have her look down because as you have her look down, it's preserving that length down below and it's not gonna get any kind of like graduation happening. So this right here, we're gonna go ahead and cut a nice little solid bottom here. So I'm just doing diagonal forward sections on both sides here. to make a nice little triangle shape here. And from here, I'm just going to go ahead and cut that bottom length just like this. Now, the reason why that I'm starting a little bit higher and I'm not starting here is because her little section down here was already short. So I don't want to take that any shorter, because then as we start to go up, it's a domino effect. It gets shorter and shorter. So by bringing down the layer up here, it's balancing it all out. And I know that I'm not going to accidentally cut it shorter than it should be. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and bring all this to the party to the left. Bringing it down, cutting in my fingers. Remember, you don't want to cut past your second knuckle. This goes back to beauty school, y'all. You just gotta, and the reason why it'll prevent from cutting your fingers. We've all been there. We've all done that. So we're going through and we're just, and I'm bringing the right side to the party. And there's my guide. Just like this. So this is the back right here. So because we want to keep the length longer in the back, I didn't take off too much back here. The thing with this haircut that's really gonna pop is the layering part of this. So the layers are what's gonna go ahead and make it that summery, beachy, Victoria's Secret sexy, ooh la la, those type of layers. So now that we have the back established, this right here is their length. So this is their length. No matter what we do up here, I mean, she'll still feel like she has that length down below. You with me? You know what I'm saying? So once again, you want to preserve this area right here. This is like the secret. So preserve, if you want to go ahead and I'll say barbicide. Oh my gosh. Braid it off, then go ahead and braid it off. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start to bring the party up to the front. So here we are. Hold on one second while I look at comments here. I haven't even looked at the screen yet here. Hold on one second, you guys. Do you have any questions so far before we move on? There we go. Yeah, I can see all your comments now. There we go. Sorry. Is there a place to rewatch? Yes, this will be on, and that was Dawn asking, is there a place to rewatch this? There will be. So here on Facebook, we have all of the videos that we do with Lonza Live. So you can go ahead and watch at any time in the comfort of your own home, if you're on break at the salon, whichever. So here we go. So once again, we took that party, we went from the middle all the way down to the back, and which leaves us with this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a nice little strip down the front here. So we're going to create about a 1/2 inch from this side and about a 1/2 inch from this side. Why? Because we are about to establish our stationary guide. Like this is going to be the pillar of our haircut. So here we go. So once again, I'm just going to bring her a little bit closer here and a little bit higher, trying to find this angle. And we're going to spray it once again. So the thing with like cutting wet or dry is you have to do one or the other. So if you're going to cut wet, cut wet. If you're going to cut dry, cut dry. But don't cut in betweeny, because that's where it gets a little bit iffy. So we're going to go ahead and cut wet this haircut. Now I'm combing this forward because we're going to be sectioning once again that little strip up top here. And I have my hand right here in the front and I'm combing forward. So from here I put my finger where I want the comb to come out from. And we're going to glide it right down on top just like this. And this is going to be my part of my section from the left. And we're going to go ahead and clip this off right here for now, just to keep it nice and controlled and clean so y'all can see it. Trying to keep it nice and clean here. And we're going to jump onto the other side as well too. So once again, we're going to grab our section. We're going to spray it with your noni fruits, just like this. And we're going to go ahead and comb forward. I apologize if I'm blocking the camera for a second here. And we're going to bring it on through. So here's my section that we're going to be taking. This is going to be the stationary guide as well too. So remember, this is the pillar of this haircut. This is what's going to go ahead and help set the guide, set the tone for the party. And we have a beach party happening today. Gosh, it's a beautiful summertime here. I'm here in Los Angeles. I have a salon over in Cleveland, so I just got back in town maybe a couple of days ago. So I apologize if you see any bags under the eyes. That's what was happening. A little jet lag. All right, so here we go, y'all. So now it's time to go ahead and get our first layer up top here. So this is our section that we have, right? So this is going to be our stationary guide. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and grab that piece from the back here. We're going to go a little bit by the crown area there and see exactly where that length should be. So I'm going to show you right now in real time what it's going to tell us. So as I'm combing up, we're combing up just like this. This right here tells me, this is the guide from the back. Do you see it? You can actually see me tugging on it down here. So this is the guide from the back. So I'm going to be going off of that. And I'm going to think of it like you're going down a slip and slide, right? So your fingers are diagonal, they're pointing down, they're not pointing down to the ground, but has more of a 45-degree angle to it. So once again, we're going down that slide right now. And the thing is, you want to create that tension onto the hair. So we're going to go ahead and comb this up like this, bring it on up, and we're going to go ahead and cut this just like that. Let me grab my scissors. Here we go. And let's do this. Let's do this. Dun, 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 dun. Ice, ice, baby. There we go. So there is my guide, and we're going to go ahead in a 45-degree angle, and we're going to cut it blunt just like that. Now, if I was doing this dry, y'all, then I would do more point cuts throughout. I love point cutting, especially like when it's dry too, because you can see exactly where it should be. So right now, I'm creating more of like a blunt feel for this, so you guys can see it. If I was doing this on dry hair, I would point cut it. It's just the shape that we're doing. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and take part of that section, drop it out, and we're gonna bring the front part to the party now. So once again, we're sliding down that slide. We're gonna continue this. So we're gonna go ahead and stretch it up just like this. And you can see my guide. Do you guys see that right there? That's my guide. So we're gonna continue the slide. Make sure your fingers are in that same position right here, and we're gonna go ahead and cut that just like that. Do you see that? Let me get my face out of the way. So it's a nice clean part there. So this is our pillar. This is our stationary guide. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start on, I'm gonna start on the left side. Whether it's on the left side or right side, it's up to you. But I'm gonna go ahead and start on my left side. And so I gotta lower her a little bit because I'm 6'2" and all, but y'all, I'm like over here. We're cutting like goodness. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take horizontal sections all the way through here, just like this, all the way down. And now as I take my horizontal section, I'm gonna bring it all to the party. So this is the beach party in the middle, and everyone wants to go to that beach party. So we're gonna make sure that everyone gets there. So we're gonna go ahead and section off our next section, just like that. And I'm gonna step onto the other side here, and we're gonna comb all this up into the party. And I'm gonna turn her around this way so you guys can see it as well too. There we are, or there we go. So once again, here I'm using my big teeth to detangle, and then I'm switching it around and using my fine teeth to get more control. And then from here, we're gonna go ahead and just split it in half because, you want to have a nice control with it. You don't want it all overflowing out of your hand. Here we go, into our next section here. We're gonna go ahead and pull it up like this. Now, as you go lower and lower, you're gonna start to see that there's not gonna be much hair that you're bringing up. The reason why is because we're over-directing all this hair up, and by over-directing it straight up like this, we're preserving that length down below here. So as you saw right here, there wasn't a ton of hair on this mannequin, but I'm bringing it right up, I'm sliding right down like this, and I'm gonna take my section here, bring it right up. Remember, you can use your big teeth for detangling, and then the fine teeth is gonna go ahead and help give you more control as well too. So as I go ahead and I comb it right up, we'll switch it around to the fine teeth like this. There we go, and you can see my guide. here is my guide right here. Do you see it? And now we're gonna go ahead and take this off. And I'm doing snip, snip, recomb, snip, snip. That's the dance we're doing today. You don't want to keep on, like I'm saying, the reason why we do that is you want to cut up to the second knuckle, because if you go past that, then woo, you better get some Band-Aids, y'all. All right, so on to the next section. Once again, if you feel like it's drying out, just make sure you spray the hair, because if you're cutting the hair wet, make sure to keep on cutting it wet. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to break this section up just like this. And we're going to go ahead and stand on to the other side, and we're going to comb all this into the pool, out of the pool party, the beach party. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and comb using the big teeth, and then from here we're going to detangle it just like that. And we're going to comb straight up. Just bring out that front part just for control. There we go. So like I said, as we get lower and lower, you're going to see like there maybe be like 3, sometimes 4 hairs you need to bring to the party there. And like on this mannequin, it came, so it's, I'm doing more of the cut on the front part than anything. But the shape that we're doing is we're going down the slide and we're bringing it all towards the middle. And now at this point, we're down at the bottom. I'm going to grab this whole entire section, just like this, and we're going to comb it up. And now all this, there shouldn't be too much to cut right here, because now we're all the way at the bottom, and that's being stretched all the way up here. So a lot of the length is probably like getting lost in here. But let's see, but you still want to go through the dance and make sure that there's no little straggler hairs. Yeah, she looks pretty good. And now this part right here, you can go through and just point cut it in. It's totally up to you. Just understand the shape, understand the dance, and then whether it's a blunt cut, whether it's a point cut, it's totally up to you. But now this is the one side that's done. Let me bring this down as I trip over my mannequin stand. I'm dancing with her. Just like this. And now we're going to go on to the other side. There we go. And we're going to go on to the other side. So once again, the dance that we're taking here, the stationary guide lives in the middle here. And then from here, we're going to be doing horizontal sections all the way down just like this. So let's go ahead and give her a little refresh again. How are you guys doing with this? Okay, I'm going to answer some of your questions right now. So I'm looking right now. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. And once again, if I don't get to them during our time together today, I promise I will get to them for sure. So we have Sierra. Would this technique be good for someone with thicker hair or for finer hair clients? Honestly, this technique is great for everybody. The reason why is because you'll see in the texturizing part of it is how you can go ahead and control, like if somebody has thicker hair, you can texturize it so we can balance out. This is great for people with thick hair because, you know, it's just kind of, it takes out a lot of that weight and it prevents it from being that triangle shape. It helps like cut into it. So this is great for people with thicker hair. For finer hair, this is also great because of by over directing it over towards the center here, you're preserving a lot of that length. Now with finer hair, if I were to do like a traditional round layer haircut and bring that guide all the way down, then I would be cutting into my length, and then it would be more, like with finer hair, it would look a little bit more wispy, a little bit more shattered, not as blunt, you know. So with this technique that we're doing today, it's very friendly across the board. Fine hair, thick hair, totally friendly. All right, y'all, so let's jump on to this next section over here. And once again, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them down into the chat, and I will go ahead and answer them as well, too. But for those of you that are new to the Lanza line, if this is your first time, welcome. It's an incredible line from the products all the way to the color, and I mean, it's a thought-out brand for sure. The clients love, they feel their hair is very hydrated, especially after the color too. They're like, wow, my hair it feels good, it looks shiny. I'm like, that's happiness, y'all. That is happiness, and her name is Lanza. She gave it to you. So here we go, on to our next section. Once again, we're gonna go through and take horizontal sections, just like this, a nice clean section. And because I'm right-handed, I can go, if I stand on the same side, I just wanna make sure that I'm over-directing it towards the middle, right? Because that middle is where that party is at. So you don't wanna be knocking on the wrong door. You wanna go to the house where the party is. So here we go, the party is in the middle. So once again, we're gonna go ahead and section that off. This way we're bringing our part, this is our guide that we had right here. So now we're bringing it into the middle. And I could even stand over here just to go ahead and get some nice control with it as I'm combing through. And I'm starting at the root when I'm combing to really detangle down by the root. See, the thing is, you don't want to like detangle just the ends right here, and then down here is all matted. So you want to go through and use your big teeth just to really go ahead and release that tension. Just like this. And I'm going to actually stand on this side now too, just so you guys can see it. And because we want control, we're going to divide this in half, and I'm going to focus on this back part first. So here we are. We're combing up. Let's see if you can see it. I'm going to turn her this way so you guys can see it. There we go. So we're combing up. And once again, look at what I'm looking at right now. Like my eye is not just looking at from here up. Like I'm looking down in here as well too. Like if this is all matted, then I'm gonna go through and really release that to get a beautiful, nice tension in there. You wanna work nice and clean, especially if you're a professional hairstylist behind the chair. Like you should work nice and clean. It shouldn't look like a home cut. Your tools should be professional. Your hair should look nice and clean. I'm telling you. Here we go. So we're going to grab our section here, and we're going to lift it up, and we're going to see if we can see our guide. Now, if you're standing on to like this side, if your guide is from this side coming over, you might have to bend the hair back a little bit like this to see your guide. If you can't see your guide, then that means you're at the wrong house. You're going to have to take a little bit more from the previous section there until you see your guide. So as I'm combing up like this, right? So we're combing up like this. There's my guide. So my guide is right here. Y'all see it? So you see these little stragglers there? That's from the other side. But the party is there, and we're going to bring her to the party, like I said. Here we go. We're going to grab our scissors. And remember, the way we're cutting this is snip, snip. Do 2 snips. By the time you go ahead and as you're recombing it, like if you don't cut all of this right here, if you keep on going, you're losing the tension in here and it turns into a different haircut. There we go. And we're bringing this up, and we're going to go ahead and continue cutting that section. All right, so now we're bringing the rest to the front here now. So we're going to go ahead and grab that hair from the front. This is still the same section because I cut it in half. So this is still the same section. And there we go. So I'm going to bring this a little bit closer so you guys can see this. So as I'm combing this up, I'm just over directing it a little bit to make sure that we're right in the middle. Now I'm going to pull this back so you can see it. Do y'all see the party? There we go. There's the section from this side. So here we go. I'm going to bend it again, and there it is. If you don't see it, you'll have to comb a little bit lower here and just hold it back, and you'll see it just pop right out. There it is. All right? So if you feel like if you're doing your haircuts and you get lost in your sectioning, you guys, I can guarantee you, your sections aren't as clean. You just want to slow it down a little bit. And just really, 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 before you cut, just make sure you see your guide. If you don't see your guide, whoo, girl, you're gonna be lost. So make sure you see your guide. Here we go, we're pulling this up. We're gonna go ahead and cut this front part, just like this. There we go. And remember, the way we're cutting this, we're going down the slide. This is a big, fun, slippery slide that we are going down. Down to the front, down with the nose. So think of how the nose goes out like this. That's how your layer up there should go. All right, so now we're gonna grab, I'm gonna turn her around here so you guys can see. And we're gonna go ahead and comb all of this hair up to the center. And once again, you wanna make sure that you spray it down, keep it nice and hydrated. One thing I love doing is with the noni fruit here, I like putting a pump of trauma treatment inside of it too. So it's, especially for people that have really thirsty hair, it just makes it feel so much better. It helps repair the hair at the same time. So I'm using my brush right here, especially because I have such a big section. So I'm using my brush first to really brush it up towards the middle. And then from here, once it does all the heavy work for me, I'm gonna go ahead and break out my comb. So now that I have my, it did all the heavy work for me, we're gonna go ahead and comb it all towards the middle. And I'm gonna turn her this way so you guys can see it again. And now I'm gonna show you this, just the full section right here as I bring all of this up. So as you can see, because I cut down, I brought all this hair from the bottom here, we're preserving a lot of that length. So at this point, we should just be cleaning it up a little bit. Right? So we're going to grab this whole entire section just like this. And we're just cleaning it up a little bit. We're making sure that that slide is in there, that shape. There we go. I'm pulling this hair back a little bit. Remember, you want to hold that, bend that hair. If you don't see your guide, bend the hair, and then she should pop out right away. How are you doing so far out there? Is this something you would do behind the chair? Yes? This is also, these are like long, what we call long layers. There's so many different type of layers out there. Longer layers are more, especially in the geometry shape, it's more triangular. It has more, the triangle shape is in there. It's not so round. But I'm telling you, like, this is one of my favorite haircuts that I love to do. Here in LA, I swear, this is very LA friendly. Everyone wants longer hair. They want that beachy, sexy Victoria's Secret layer. So this is one that's like a really popular layer that I do. There we go. So now that we have all of this, I'm gonna go ahead and brush this backwards here. So now we're gonna go through, and if you were to cross-check this, the one thing that you're gonna see for this is if you cross-check vertical, so once you take sections like this and hold them up, they should be a nice like V, like this. Huh, V for Vasi, what? So that's what it should be. It should be a nice little V. So we're gonna check her out here. And I'm just doing the mohawk section up top, just to make sure that we are ready to go. Now for styling with this, I would go ahead and use like, it depends, like on my girl, what I did here, like I used a little bit of foundation foam first in the roots and did a rough dry, just to get a nice foundation down in that root area. So now that we're in the top part here, this is our lovely little mohawk, we're gonna go ahead and comb this up. This is what we call vertical, right? So we're holding this up. And then now this is where we clean it up. If you need any cleaning, this is where you'll see it's more of like a V shape that's happening. So we're just going. Now this isn't a stationary guide. As I'm checking it, like I'm not bringing everything to this guide. So this is what we call like a traveling guide now at this point. So I'll be taking some of this section. Just like this. And I'm holding it up just like that because I should see a nice little V happening. Looking good. And now we're going to do the front. Just like that. There we go. And then now, once I get this part, now around the hairline, we're going to go ahead and comb that hair into the front. So, you know, you can either do this when it's dry or while it's wet, but you know, everyone wants those little face framing layers. I'm going to go ahead and do it wet right now, just as, you know, for time's sake as well too. But you can do this dry at the very end. This is like, putting the detail on it. So I'm just taking a little bit of that fringe area, that triangle. And here we're just gonna, so we're continuing that slide motion going all the way down. Remember, we're sliding up here, so now we're sliding down. We're down at the bottom of that slide. And onto this section right here. I like to start off with my fringe area first before, as I'm face framing, and then I start adding it to the party instead of like bringing all this hair from over here and just like chopping it, and then it's too short. So it's better to take a little bit at a time, and then that way it prevents you from like taking too much hair. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and raise my arm so you can. So from here, I'm gonna go through and just, we're sliding down just like that to create a nice little face frame. And with this, once again, you can go ahead and reevaluate your face frame afterwards when it's dry. So when it's dry, then you can go ahead and see exactly where it's falling, exactly where it's landing, and then you can go ahead and do more of a dry cut to soften up the edge a little bit more. But that, you guys, is pretty much it for this cut right here. So then what I would do for styling wise, I would go ahead and put some foundation foam in my hand, just like this. There we go. And I start to apply it, especially more towards like the root area. That's where I need that, like the foundation for this, down in that root area for sure. Once again, with our products, you guys, we offer heat protection as well too, so up to 450-degree heats, which, people should be protecting their hair, especially from the hot summer sun too, and the tools that people are using. You just gotta really make sure that you're protecting your hair. And I'm just going through and just kind of brushing through like this. And then what I would do is do more of a rough dry first. So I would do more of a rough dry, but for the sake of time here, we're gonna pretend that she's all rough dried. Here we go, and here she is. So this is what the cut looks like that I just did on my mannequin. This is just a dried version. So this is what the cut looks like. So you have like the shorter layers around the front hairline going back into that longer layer in the back here. So as we said, we're gonna go ahead and you rough dry that hair so it's nice and get that volume in there. And then from there, you're gonna use your iron to create beautiful beachy waves throughout. So now I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I created some of these beautiful beachy waves using my iron as well too. Sounds pretty cool? Yes? How you guys doing out there? I didn't even check in yet. You doing good? Yes? All right, so we're gonna wanna turn our iron on. Once again, you don't wanna get too hot on this. You want it to be around, like 350, the heat. Nice and controllable, 360. So with our beachier layers that we're doing, and we're doing our style to go with it, we want more of a bend in the hair. So we're looking for more of a little bit of a bend, nothing too curly and crazy, so something more bendy than anything. So what I'm gonna do, because she's pretty much done on here, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna re-wave some of this side over here so you can see what I would do. So on her, I would go ahead and start in the back. And I did all this going backwards. So you can go ahead and alternate the curls if you want, or the waves. Some going forward, some going back. But with this, I have it all going backwards. So when I rake it, it kind of falls into little bits of channels. The characteristics of this is, you have more of a smoother end, straighter end on the bottom as well. But when I work here's a little styling tip for this right here. I usually stand right in front of my model, of my client here, and I start with the front, and I start to go towards the back here as well too when I'm doing the front section. So like this right here, we're gonna grab our section, and now that my iron is nice and hot, the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna clamp down like this, we're gonna turn it once, turn it twice, and then slowly, we're gonna do the formation of like a clock, how it drops down like this until this points down to the ground. Sounds confusing, but I'm gonna show you right now. It's pretty easy. So we're gonna go through, we're gonna flip it once, flip it twice, and from here we're gonna go all the way and point right down to the ground, pull it out, and just straighten out those ends just a little bit. So once again, we go like this. You grab your section, you clamp down like this, turn it once, and as I turn it once, I'm starting to turn it down to the ground. I pull it out like this so it stretches it, and then I pretty much just iron the ends so they're straighter. And then from here, we're gonna go ahead onto our next section. So here we go. Whether you do 1 or 2 turns is totally up to you. It depends on, like, if you have finer hair that's not really holding on to curls or waves, maybe do like 2 because it just needs a little bit more heat time on there. But like for her, I'll do 1 where it's just like 1 turn on her, just so you guys can see it. Let me turn her a little this way so you can see my angle here. Yes, okay. So I'm standing in front. We're gonna go ahead and shut the iron. We're gonna turn it around once, and from here we're gonna start to, like, think of like a time clock, like the, what do you call that? Like the, I can't speak today. On a time, the hands on a time. So I turn it once, and then from here I start to turn it, and then this points downwards. Because then by pointing it downwards, it just really straightens those bottoms. If you got too curly on it, no worries. All you have to do is just, after it comes out, just smooth out the bottoms a little bit, just like that. Super easy. But with this, I would recommend more diagonal backs as well too. So nothing really vertical, because then the way it falls vertical is very piecey and very curly looking. So I'm gonna do a couple more sections here. So I'm just going more diagonal back, just like this. Just grabbing a section. And from here, we're standing right in front. I'm gonna step back a little bit this way so we're all in the shot here. And we're gonna go ahead and turn it once, and twice naturally happens as you start to, like, turn it down towards the ground, spin it out, and smooth out those ends, just like that. So I like to spin it out towards the bottoms, because in that way it prevents it from getting too curly, and it starts to really stretch it out towards the bottom there. Watch, I'm gonna get a little bit closer here so you see a couple different angles. So I'm gonna grab this bigger section just like this, combing it forward, and we're gonna go ahead and clamp down like this. Now we get close here so you can see it. And we're gonna go ahead and clamp down and turn it once, and start to, like, turn it down like the needle on a clock, going downward. And now once it comes right off, you can iron the bottoms just like this, just to get that beautiful beachy wave to it. So then after I do this throughout the whole head, I work going towards backwards, especially like in the back if I was to do kissing curls, where it's like going one way and then going the other way. I always end up with the front going backwards because it complements the face. It looks better on the face. Sometimes when you go forward, it makes it look a little funky. So going away from the face is better. And then the very end, what I like to do is I have the client tilt their head backwards like this, and then I use the dry texture spray. And I use this more towards, like, the root area, just like that, just to get that volume into the hair. And we want this to be beachy, not so curly, right? So we just want to really break that up. I love the dry texture spray. If you haven't, it just smells so good. If you haven't used it, if you're a consumer and you're thinking about Lanza, this one is, I would say, one of the staples in this line as well too. So what I do is once I go through and I put the dry texture spray, I just rake my fingers back this way to break it up, just like that. And then from the back here, I'm just gonna go ahead and push this slightly forward like that. God, I could use my thumbs better as a mannequin stand than, like, there we go. It's like a puppet. It's like a puppet show over here. Gosh. And then over here, I'm just pushing this forward. So my hands are going down in the back here, up top, to really get that volume by that root, right? If you're looking for more pieciness on the edges, I would recommend Air Paste as well too. So there's a product called Air Paste. So just on the ends, just to make it a little bit more piecier, I give it a nice shaky, 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 wakey, wakey, just like this. And we're just gonna spray a little bit in those ends because I want the ends to be a little bit more piecier. give me a little bit more definition. So now that I have my volume up top here, this is giving me more definition in the ends. Just like that. So let me bring her off and show you closer here so you can see it. So this, y'all, is our beachy layers and beachy style. What do you think? Yes? Is this something that you can do on your clients as well too? I'm sure. I'm sure y'all can do it. I'm sure. Once again, it's a favorite. You know, it's a favorite. It's beach time. It's summertime. It's you know, we're bringing the beach to our clients behind the chair, making them look nice and beachy. We're gonna go ahead and do a nice little photo shoot after for the Insta.